This is Cassette Culture.
Alrighty. Well, it's been a while since we put anything out, so I thought, how about we catch up, find out what we've got coming up the pipeline, and I think there's a bit of a surprise here at the end.
Yeah, there is hopefully a few surprises. So
cool.
I've been doing a few interviews recently, but before I get onto those, did I tell you about the British Library?
No.
So, out of the blue, I've received a contact from the British Library in London saying, would it be okay if we archive your podcast?
Really?
Yeah, so that it'll basically be preserved, so at some point when the hosting goes off and the podcast kind of disappears, then the British Library will still have a copy and people will be able to access that.
Wow. So how did they hear about that? So you didn't set it up? They got back to you? They came to you?
Yeah. They just, through the sort of all-seeing eye of the British Library, they knew about us. And the British Library, has started to kind of collect examples of that post-punk culture now. So they collect fanzines. And,
yeah, right. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, so it definitely feels like that preservation driver of the podcast, because as we're finding all these pre-internet stories, they're so easily lost and starting to disappear, Well,
that's great.
People, in the future will be able to ask to listen to it. I followed up a contact that we got from Rob Maycock of Mindscan Tapes, who we spoke to right back in episode 1. He launched his kind of musical adventures with a musician called Davie Kirby, who then became Satori and kind of developed that sort of industrial noise track of music. And we got hold of Dave, who was amazing. So
it's another tie-in there?
It's another tie-in. Yeah, okay. And, Dave is still recording and releasing Satori music now. And Dave has also hooked me up with Justin Mitchell, who runs Cold Spring Records. So I'm hoping that's a little kind of, I'm chancing my arm there because I haven't actually pinned Justin down, but we're emailing. So I'm hoping Cold Spring Records would join the cassette culture.
So it's starting to feel like there's a little bit of a network happening.
The network effect.
The cassette culture.
Yeah.
Like the original days.
I'd known Rob for a couple of years. We were both interested in all sorts of experimental music. One day he came around to my flat with this album and he said, Dave, you just got to listen to this. And he wouldn't let me talk. So we listened to the side 1, turned it over, played side 2. And I had never heard anything like that at all. This was Throbbing Gristle's second annual report. And I can remember very clearly, it's one of those moments that absolutely changes your life, but you don't know it at the time. And I said to him, we could do that. And that was it. That was the beginning of a road that 40 years later I'm still on.
So the other person I spoke to, who I knew back in the late 80s, is Daniel Plunkett. And Daniel ran a fanzine based out of Austin, Texas, called ND.
Okay.
ND ran for years and years and went to 20...
What's it stand for? Do we know?
I don't know. That's the one question I...
No idea?
I didn't ask him. What ND? I feel like it should stand...
You've already spoken to him, have you?
I've spoken to him. I can't... Yeah.
All right. We might have to get you back on. Yeah, all right. And so where was that from? Texas?
Yeah, that's why you should have been there when I spoke to him, to ask those kind
I should have been there.
Questions. Anyhow,
United States. Okay.
ND really came out of the performance and mail art worlds as well, so it sort of covered a lot of that type of material.
Yeah, we covered a bit of that mail art, and hopefully coming up we'll show a bit more visuals.
Daniel did a huge amount of traveling based off of his kind of total immersion into the network, and he really reached out and found underground artists, a lot from Europe, where who he met and covered in the fanzine and travelled and visited them. And while he's doing ND, they put on a cassette exhibition at a museum in Texas, and then he started releasing CDs and cassettes originally, and went on to release CDs in a little micro label. There's a great quote from him, or maybe I might even cut it into the episode, where he says something like, he had no idea how big the Cassette Network was until he put out this call for work, and people started sending in stuff, and he said, there were 60 cassette labels in Brazil.
Wow.
He had discovered through doing that. So yes, that was a really great chat with Daniel. That'll be coming up, covering fanzines and that whole sort of piece that we did.
Well, we did this cassette show at the museum here. I forgot what year that was. It's called Undercurrents. We sent these invitations, and we were trying to expose like the Cassette Network, And it was just like, I would go to the post office, there'd be like 150 packages and letters. And it was just like, it was like Santa Claus, but also at the same, we were real naive when we started. We're like, oh, this will be, I have a pretty good idea how it started. Like back in the day, I wrote like Deleted Fun Time, some of the early like UK, I had a sort of feel on the cassette culture, I thought. And then a lot of people I knew. And when we kind of started unearthing it, it's like, this is so much more massive than I ever thought. Like, there's 60 cassette labels in Brazil. Like, this is so incredible.
What else? What do you got here?
The third one that's already in the can is my chat with Richard Allen, who ran the Freakbeat fanzine and Delerium records right the way through into the 90s, and he's got a lot of really interesting sort of stories about how that evolved and how he sustained that as a business, and then kind of what happened when it couldn't be sustained.
So he went through the 80s into the 90s.
Into the 90s, and he launched the career of Porcupine Tree. He became Porcupine Tree's manager, and all sorts of interesting music world stuff from Richard.
Awesome.
Finally, go on.
No, I was going to...
Can you see what's the finally piece that's coming up? Right. I read a book over the holidays. It's called The Audience is Listening. Okay. It's about podcast promotion. Mm-hmm. And it just had one chapter which is kind of stating the obvious, but in a really brilliant way, and it was saying, in the world we're in of digital marketing and content and all these different platforms you've got to try and feed with your stuff, there are still real people who go to real places. In an offline.
Tangible
offline world. And so from reading that, I was like, right. And so I've done some flyers, which we're going to start to sort of feed around. The flyers are still on the way, but I've got some stickers, which
and I haven't seen the design of these either, so this is going to be a full surprise to me. And I assume at the moment you don't even know what they look like, even though you know the design. But
that's right. It's unopened in an unopened envelope here. So we're going to just like get it open and hopefully not be disappointed by the printed version of these things when we get hold of them. Hold on, it's just.
All right, we're going to check his muscles out here.
It's been a long time since I've opened it.
No, don't have any letter openers anymore.
Okay, here we go. This is just get a few bits out here. All right.
Okay. So that's theirs. Sticker Man,
thank you for your order. Thank you, Sticker Man. They look pretty nice in the bag.
Ooh. That you picked
Check
from?
it out. Oh, I'm pretty pleased with that. Yeah, so it's like a glossy vinyl sticker. Peel it off, put it on put it on your DJ record box or whatever you like.
I like that. You know what I reckon too?
Yeah.
People can customise it. You know, you used to write on the tape yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
You could-
if you get one of these, put a little scribble on there and send us a photo.
That'd be nice. Yeah, get
Wicked.
like a little pen and just write something on there. Yeah. So Cassette Culture stickers are available, and I'm just gonna take them around to record shops, send them to people who've come on the podcast.
I mean,
They
you're
will-
right. It's tangible, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're doing the podcast because we really enjoy this space, and obviously there's a few people out there, but yeah, we're trying to make things more tangible, and obviously you can see a few more visuals here now. So.
Yeah, it's going to be available through the mail.
Breakdown.